Hello and welcome to the channel. Before I get to this week's video, I wanted to let you know that I'm doing a small giveaway next week. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss the announcement. Thanks. Now let's talk about the Pizza Party watch. Look at this watch. Just look at this freaking watch. This is the freshly hand-delivered Pizza Party watch from Studio Underdog, and everything about this watch is so silly, I love it. Studio Underdog is a very young, independent British watch brand who is known to make bold and whimsical watches. This pizza watch started as a joke that went too far, but now it's an actual watch you can buy. Well, sort of. Now, pizza on a watch dial is as good a combination as my grandmother and technology. In short, it should not work together. And that's apparently what Studio Underdog thought as well when they announced this concept as an April Fool's joke. But when over 20,000 people expressed interest in buying this non-existent watch, Studio Underdog decided to actually produce two variants, a Hawaiian and a pepperoni. If this was not ridiculous enough, these mad lads decided to put another twist on it. In association with Time and Tide watches, Studio Underdog announced that this watch could only be bought in person. That is, hand-delivered when you meet Richard, the founder of Studio Underdog, or Andrew McCutcheon from Time and Tide watches. And these guys could be found anywhere really, but specifically at these watch events that have been listed on the Studio Underdog website. When you meet one of these guys, they hand you a QR code you can scan and reach the order page for this watch. And that's how I bought this watch. And although their intention is to encourage people to get out and visit these events, I know this roundabout purchasing process can be really frustrating for many people, especially everyone who doesn't live close to one of these cities. Oh well. If you really want one, you'll need to look at the secondary market. I've seen some of these listed online at reasonable prices. I want to know from you, is this hand-delivered approach cool and innovative, or would you rather just have the convenience of ordering a watch online? Let me know in the comments. Coming to the specifications, the watch is housed in a polished steel case measuring 38.5mm in diameter by 13.6mm in thickness. The watch has 20mm lugs and measures 44.5mm from lug to lug. Now 13.6mm sounds like a thick boy. However, it actually sits very well on the wrist and doesn't feel too chunky. In fact, almost 3mm of the thickness comes from the domed sapphire crystal itself. Without the domed crystal, this is essentially a 10.5mm thick watch, which is pretty thin for a chronograph. For comparison, the Rolex Daytona comes in at 11.9mm thick, while the Omega Moonwatch sits at around 13mm thick. Given the dimensions, the watch wears very well on my 6-inch wrist. I find the size to be close to perfect and the watch wears comfortably. Because it's currently sweaty season, I often found myself wearing this watch on an orange rubber strap that complements the dial very well. The Chinese Seagull ST1901 chronograph movement powering this watch is visible behind an open caseback. This manual movement is essentially a modified version of the famed Swiss Venus 175 caliber that beats at 28,800 bph or 4 Hz and has a power reserve of about 40 hours when fully wound. I'll talk more about this movement later in the video. The hands of the watch have a rather weak application of green loom, but the watch has a decent water resistance of 50 meters. Okay, now that we have the specs out of the way, let's talk about what I like about this watch. Confession time. I never really enjoyed the older Studio Underdog watches like the Watermelon, Panda or Desert Sky. This might be a hot take, but I thought the designs were trying too hard and I just couldn't vibe with them. But something about this design appealed to me. Perhaps it's the unique design with vibrant colors, or maybe it's just my cholesterol that has a natural affinity to pizza. In either case, I loved this design in a way I didn't the other variants. But I was concerned that the watch would disappoint in person. Thankfully, I was wrong. The watch has been designed to a meticulously high standard, with each element contributing to the overall aesthetic. The dial has a sort of grained texture on the pizza, contrasted by the flat, matte texture on the minutes counter, while the second subdial has a radial guilloche pattern. The colors used are bold and fun without going too overboard. Even the placement of the toppings is perfect. And all the elements are given a visual boost by the dome crystal on top. Overall, the watch face looks like a very tasty 3D pizza. Hats off to the Studio Underdog team for pulling this design off. But I know not everyone is a fan of this look. This design might be a little over the top for some. So you tell me, are you team pizza or do you prefer a different version of their chronograph? While the dial of the pizza watch might be the tastiest bit, the movement is no slouch. A manually wound chronograph from a Swiss manufacturer would cost at least a few $1,000s, which would be prohibitively expensive for many people. So although this Chinese seagull movement may not be as prestigious or even reliable, it gives many enthusiasts the chance to own a manual chronograph movement. This is the reason why I can never dislike affordable movements coming from non-traditional watchmaking hubs. If you know me, you know I like manually wound movements without the annoying rotors you would find in an automatic watch. I enjoy the unobstructed view of the gears in motion, and I found it endlessly fascinating on this watch. Looking at the movement in action, you can see that pressing the start button repositions the metal lever, causing the oscillating pinion to mesh with the chronograph wheel and start the function. Even the movement of the wheel resulting in changing the chronograph counters on the dial is so interesting. Look at the motion of this small wheel, which represents the minute counter in the chronograph function. It was so fascinating to see how this wheel takes almost 1 minute to fully turn, then it gradually starts turning faster, followed by a snap where the minute hand moves forward. One note is that the pushers work well, but sometimes need a slightly harder push to operate. Not a big issue. By the way, please do hit the like button if you're enjoying the video so far. It really helps the channel. Thanks so much. Now, one easy cost-cutting area for many brands is the strap. Pop a watch on any ordinary leather strap and you're good to go. But Studio Underdog really surprised me with this strap. The pizza watch and all their chronographs come on a very high quality leather strap from the Strap Tailor, which is a British strap manufacturer. This brownish, tan strap not only complements the orange dial but also feels really comfortable on the wrist. The strap feels slightly firm but breaks in just a day or two, and it's absolutely a pleasure to wear. I'm actually surprised how much I like this strap. Also, if you try to buy this strap independently, it will cost you well over $100. So it's nice to see that Studio Underdog haven't compromised in this aspect and provided a quality offering with their watch. Lastly, what I love about this watch is the price. I think $650 is a bargain to pay for a limited production, manually wound chronograph with such a striking design. This price makes the watch more affordable than even a Tissot PRX. Most people can save this amount in a reasonable period of time and not feel too guilty about the purchase, so I can wholly recommend a sub $700 watch to anyone. But not everything about this watch is perfect. I do have a few concerns. Let's dive in. 1. The reliability of the Chinese chronograph movement. I don't have any long-term experience with the Chinese movement, and a chronograph is a delicate and complicated movement to begin with. Although I hope the watch will be reliable in the long term, I really don't have any statistics to back this up. I slightly worry about servicing and repairs, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it won't be required for a while. The 2-year warranty offered by Studio Underdog is the standard for micro brands, but I would have liked to see a 3 or even a 5-year warranty. I know it's wishful thinking, but one can always dream. The second con is the legibility or lack of it. Although cool looking, the dial makes it slightly difficult to read time, especially some of the minutes. The loom isn't the best either, so nighttime legibility is suspect. I know this is a minor nitpick, but I thought I should point it out. And lastly, the biggest question for me is the appeal of this weird and funky dial in the long run. I know I like this watch a lot right now, but who knows if I'll still be enamored with the design in a few years. Perhaps the novelty will fade, or perhaps I'll grow to like it even more. I'm really not sure. This is where I'd like to hear your opinion. Do you think that this dial will be as cool and attractive 5 years down the line? Or will it fall in the category of just another weird looking watch? Let's have a discussion in the comments. Although unnecessary, the chronograph is a surprisingly useful complication. I found myself timing many daily tasks using it, like cooking times, timing dog walks, or just seeing how long the pizza delivery takes. And it's even more fun when you're looking at such a cool dial while doing so. Overall, I really like the Pizza Party watch from Studio Underdog. They definitely have a good thing going on with their watches, and I like their design focus approach. It was also very nice to see them putting the watch on a very nice strap and also a decent movement. If you're okay with this Chinese movement and appreciate the design, this will be a great watch for you. I wholeheartedly recommend the watch. But don't just take my word for it. Here's my fiancé's take on the watch. And remember, she doesn't love watches. Here we go. Studio Underdog is creative every time they craft a watch. This is just one example of it. A freshly made pie for the average Joe to wear on the daily is exactly my kind of watch. I enjoy the deep orange to gold gradient of the dial and the details of the toppings. Plus, it's a chronograph, which have been out of this world. It's a fun and floaty watch that I like. So I guess this watch has the Fiancé seal of approval, unlike many other watches I own. Now, it's up to you to go find Richard or Andrew to order your very own hand-delivered pizza. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the like button. It really helps support the channel. Also, I'm doing a small giveaway next week, so get subscribed and turn on notifications so you don't miss the announcement. Talk to you soon. Peace.